Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Thursday morning to you all. Hope you folks are doing awesome out there this morning and having a fantastic start to your day and a wonderful week out there so far as we're a little bit closer to the weekend. And, today is technically my Friday. Tomorrow, I actually volunteer a field trip for my little girl. So today's my Friday. Looking forward to a day off, just hanging out with some kids and having fun in a museum here locally here in Columbia, South Carolina. But anyways, here to break down the weather, we have another day of severe weather out ahead of us. I do think today will be the last day of more of a higher chance of severe weather, if you will. Once we get into tomorrow, I do think things begin to settle down somewhat, but we will have a chance of severe weather for your Friday too across areas of the southeast. But we're going to focus in a lot on this here in the middle of the country. We'll bring you guys some really good details, break it down for you folks in a great detail, just like we always do. After we get done doing that, we'll break down the entire lower 48, just like we always do. And then at the very end, we will kind of discuss what's to come. We'll talk briefly on tomorrow's severe weather risk. Not a whole lot. We'll really just show you the outlook from the Storm Prediction Center. And then we'll look a little bit more beyond on the Storm Prediction Center, kind of talk about the pattern coming up a little bit. But we'll talk in more detail on that here in the coming videos. But I do think, and I've said this before, I do think things are going to slow down a little bit as far as severe weather for a period. I do think basically an upper trough is going to settle over a large portion of the country, really stabilizing the atmosphere and actually bringing below average temperatures for a good chunk of the lower 48. So we'll break that down as it comes. We get more info, but we're pretty confident that's going to happen. In fact, that upper trough's already moving in right now. It's going to be a factor in bringing that severe weather risk for today as a cold front sweeps across the country. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if you folks got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below. Let's get rocking and rolling. So we got all the energy right over the middle of the Midwest, just about. A lot of rain across Iowa. We got some storms moving out of Kansas, already affecting areas of northern Missouri. Rain, a chilly rain. Even maybe some snowflakes mixing in areas of central Nebraska, western Nebraska, but this is more so just rain. Here in eastern Nebraska, we do have all that energy kind of starting to move up into now Quebec. Still a lot of rain into like Ontario, southern Ontario, places like that. We got some showers moving across areas of the northeast. A little bit of moisture return down here for the deep south, where we will run a risk of severe weather also for today, and we'll speak on that also. And then we got some energy pivoting down into the Dakotas with some cold air around. We're actually going to have maybe kind of a wintry-like day really this afternoon, this evening, into tomorrow for areas of like, maybe North Dakota into Minnesota. And we'll speak a little bit on that also. Western U.S. pretty quiet and will remain quiet over the next 24 hours. Watches, warnings, and advisories. It really tells you that overall, on average, the country's pretty quiet. We do have that severe thunderstorm watch up here in this pink color here. So we'll probably get some warnings later on this morning. We might have a warning by the time you folks watch this video. But these storms will intensify, and we'll speak on this here in a second as they dive deeper into Missouri, eventually making their way into the central Mississippi Valley. But some dense fog out there in areas of Georgia, Alabama, some wind advisories in these tan colors, a couple red flag warnings left. You got a couple areas right here in southern Montana that have winter storm watches. So not a whole lot going on out there. Excessive rainfall outlook. This could become a bigger deal here in the coming days, especially as we get into this weekend. A frontal boundary is going to sag down here and really stall. So this is going to allow for just afternoon and evening thunderstorms to fire in the same areas, especially in Texas. And we'll speak on that in the coming videos, but we'll just focus in on today right now. But there is just a marginal risk of, rainfall exceeding flash flood guidance within 25 miles in a given location. I do think this is going to rise as we get closer to the weekend to maybe a slight, maybe even a moderate at some point. So we got that. So let's break down the severe weather event for today. So we'll start off by breaking this down first, the higher end, and then there's kind of a separate area down here that we'll speak on for areas of Texas, where we do have a chance for isolated, very strong to severe storms today that could produce some very large hail. But enhanced risk up here really centered on the kind of central Mississippi Valley, areas in the Midwest, all the way down into Tennessee, includes western Kentucky, southeastern Indiana, the southern half, just about the entire southern half of Illinois, the Boot Hill, Missouri, small section of northeast Arkansas, a good chunk of Missouri, also eastern and southeastern Missouri. So slight risk extends all the way up to Indianapolis, Indiana, all the way down through the heart of Texas. Marginal risk pretty much around that in the dark green. So what is this driven off of? Well, we'll take a broad look at this first. 5% of a tornado, 2% down here. Not a whole lot of flow to really drive this. But I really want to just focus on this one for the more broad look here. The wind threat, that's what it looks like. 15% risk down here, winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. But you see how it has like 2 areas of hail? Just a 15% risk down here of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger, but you got a hatch risk also, kind of for half of this one risk to the south. That means you got a 10% risk of hail exceeding 2 inch in diameter or larger. Whoever does get hit by one of these storms, they're going to be very isolated down here in Texas, is going to run a risk of significant hail, very large hail. There's going to be tons of energy in the atmosphere. It's just trying to figure out if any storms are going to fire. So let's take a closer look at this. And I know you're like, wow, man, that's way up on my screen. We're going to kind of shrink this somewhat. And I know we're missing people. I know. That's why I want to take a broad look at it first for the people I did miss. But this is kind of right in the bullseye of the enhanced risk. I'm not going to name every single town on here, but I'll mention a couple: St. Louis, Paducah, Mayfield, all the way down to Dyersburg, all the way up to just about Peoria, Illinois. Maybe not quite including this, but it does include Evansville, down here to the Boot Hill, Missouri, and all these areas right here. What is this driven off of? Well, if we kind of look at this is that tornado threat. Brown area, 5% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in the given location. Okay, so you kind of zoom out of this, then you look at the wind outlook. The entire red area here, you run a 30% chance of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. I do think we could have, in certain areas, certain pockets, a really intense line of thunderstorms that sweeps across certain areas in this red area. Even in the yellow area, too. The yellow area is a 15% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. Okay, and then we got the hail threat. Now, this did increase. It's a little bit shifted to the west, but even St. Louis is included in this higher populated area. In the red, you got a 30% chance of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter, 1 inch or larger, within 25 miles in the given location. Getting a little tongue twisted there. You guys, I'm good for that a couple times in video. In the yellow area, 15% risk of that. So let's go on and break down the radar for this area, the entire Midwest, Mississippi Valley region, all the way down to certain sections of the Mid-South. So, the ATRRR model handling this pretty well. We got some strong storms out there. Some are really close to severe limits as I speak. This energy will continue to cruise on down. Stable air moving in behind it, but in front of this line, you certainly got an atmosphere that's becoming more unstable. You might be waking up to some drier, cooler conditions in areas of the Midwest, but you'll notice that the atmosphere will change in areas like St. Louis, just southern Illinois throughout the day. That's the atmosphere beginning to get more prime for these storms on the way to your west and northwest. So as we start to get to about 10, 11 a.m., these storms are kind of at their weakest, I would say. But then you start to get to like lunchtime. St. Louis in here, Illinois, Boot Hill, Missouri. You notice how you start to get the darker reds, even some pink, some purples and pinks in here now. So these storms almost kind of become semi-discrete. That's when you got to watch out for that hail threat and the tornado risk. So this is around 2 p.m. Columbia right here. Looks like the storm's done swept through. Springfield, you want to watch. You got some storms to your north. St. Louis into here. This is when you have to watch for the damaging winds. These storms sweep through St. Louis maybe around mid-afternoon, 3, 4 p.m. Storms getting really close to Springfield. And then we have to see what happens at this point. We start to get sporadic convection. You see these storms down here near Fayetteville. Was it Fort Smith, I believe? Eastern Oklahoma. You see how isolated they are. Not a whole lot of flow aloft, but a lot of energy in the atmosphere. The further you work to the southwest, large hail is possible with these storms. They are. So you see these storms kind of west of Memphis into Arkansas. You want to watch out for all these storms, and you kind of keep it going here. You get into about 6 p.m. This could be more of a Boeing line segment, if you will, but the latest ATRRR model just shows this being more kind of broken up, maybe more discrete. You got to watch more so for the tornado threat with certain things like that, with that kind of look. But you see these pockets of stronger storms near Dyersburg, western Tennessee, western Kentucky. These are starting to enter western Kentucky. Evansville, you're getting some storms around 6, 7, 8 p.m. And then this is when that turns into like that line of storms. It's around 8, 9 p.m. You got to watch out in like northeast Arkansas, the Boot Hill, Missouri. These look quite intense. Watch out for power outages with these. 50, 60 mile per hour wind gusts are quite possible with these storms. And then we stop it here. This is around 10 p.m. Central Time. If you're confused like Mitch, you're saying 10 p.m., but this says 11. This is an Eastern Time, so remember that. But we do got some intense storms up here too. Like, I don't want to ignore Illinois, further north, Illinois and Indiana. You see these storms up here? And eastern Illinois moving into western Indiana. These, these could be closer to Indianapolis. This line of storms could be connected right into here. So even though you see nothing over kind of central Indiana, there very well could be storms. The atmosphere will be primed for some storm development up here. So, watch out for these storms up here. And then we'll have to switch kind of back to the 06Z, but you notice it's a little different. Let's back it up. Come on, cooperate with me. You speed us back up so we can go a little bit further in time, and we start to get to about midnight. I would say that the latest HRRR model is really speeding up this energy. So this is a little bit slower from a couple runs back, but this is the only thing we can look at as far as going past 18 hours. These lines of storms will sweep through Kentucky, still be quite intense, but I do think they're losing some steam, but could be and still be intense by the time they reach like Lexington, Bowling Green, Kentucky. We have to see what these storms do overnight as they get down into like Nashville, like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, sweeping through Memphis, all of western and central Tennessee. And then we'll have a separate segment for the rest of the life of these storms to the deep south. But, this is kind of the latest HRRR model as far as showing wind gusts. Now, you notice it's kind of gapped up here. This is in 1 hour increments, so it kind of breaks it up. So, if you live right here in Illinois, you're thinking, well, why am I between 40 and 50 mile per hour wind gusts and I'm only getting 20? Well, that's because it goes in 1 hour segments. So 1 hour the storms are here, next hour is right here. But so just look in this entire region, you see how you got these embedded pockets of like yellow, orange, and red? That's winds exceeding like 50 to 55 miles per hour. So you're going to have some wind gusts in these lines of storms, these little segments of storms are going to have the opportunity to produce, like I said, 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts, maybe even more. So we just got to watch out for that. And we can't ignore the tornado threat, guys. If you hear me clear my throat a lot, I almost choked on my oatmeal before this video, so my throat's still recovering from that. So, but you look at southern Missouri, and then southeast Mizzou here, and then in southern Illinois, even getting into like western Kentucky a little bit later this evening. It really likes a lot of rotation with these storms, but just because you're seeing this updraft velocity swath indicating these reds, yellows, greens, of course, the more redder colors you see, the more intense rotation is showing with these storms. Remember, that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to get a tornado. Okay, it just means that there's probably going to be rotation with these storms. Could be broad. Remember, you need that tight rotation for you to really start to think you're going to get a tornado. So, but even that doesn't necessarily mean a tornado. But there's going to be rotation with these storms, and I think that's why they have that 5% risk of a tornado. I don't think this warrants a 10% risk. I did once upon a time, like yesterday. But really looking at the kind of the wind profiles and the upper levels of the atmosphere, I don't think the low-level jet's really going to be there. But we'll see. I mean, they very well could. So, that's the breakdown in this area. This is kind of the breakdown of like Texas into southeast Oklahoma, even though we don't have anything included in that. And remember, there is a slight risk all the way down, up into like Little Rock also. And we're going to, I don't want you guys to think I'm going to jip Arkansas here. I show Arkansas a lot of love. Arkansas is going to be broken up to almost like 3 different segments, like this one, the last one, and then the deep south segment. So it's going to be kind of weird. Jump around if you need to, if I do miss your area. But we do have that slight risk that extends all the way down into Texas. I would say they would drop an enhanced risk for hail in Texas if there was going to be more higher confidence and widespread storm development. And they still might. But as of now, Dallas, up to Texarkana, just about Dallas-Fort Worth, Waco, all the way down into kind of between San Angelo and San Antonio and Austin, slight risk. What is this driven off of? There is a tornado risk. There's a 2% risk of a tornado. Can't completely rule it out. But there it is. And then you got the wind outlook, this yellow area, 15% risk or higher of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. There I go, about to choke. I need some water. And then the hail outlook. You notice it's kind of separate from this area. And I don't honestly know why it's separate. I think you should have a connection right here, especially with some of these CAM models, short-range models, showing some storms developing here in northwest Arkansas. I do think they will extend the hail, like the 15% risk of hail, into northwestern Arkansas. No doubt about it. That's my high confidence shot that I do think the Storm Prediction Center will do. We'll see if that happens. And will place something in the community tab to help you guys out in Arkansas. But 15% risk of hail exceeding, I almost said 55 to 60 miles per hour. 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. And then there's that hatched risk down here. That's a 10% risk of hail exceeding 2 inch in diameter or larger. Somebody's going to get rocked with hail down here in central Texas. It's just trying to figure out who. And if we look at the latest HRRR model, of course, starting it off this morning, we get to about lunchtime, not a whole lot going on. Starting to get into the afternoon hours, about 4 p.m., atmosphere really starts to get prime. I'm talking about like mixed layer Cape reaching like close to 4,000 joules per kilogram in certain areas. There's one storm that just pops up, and this is right near the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I mean, it almost pops up right on top of them, and it could. And there's those clusters of storms. I'm telling you, those could produce large hail too. That's why I do think they'll extend the slight risk kind of down into here for hail. But you'll keep these going. There's those storms. Look at them. You can't ignore eastern Oklahoma. I mean, into like western Arkansas. I'm telling you, I don't have a clue why they don't have a slight risk into this area. So it's kind of baffling to me. I'm sorry, they do have a slight risk, but it's not for hail. It's for winds. But I do think they'll extend this into that region. I know I keep getting sidetracked by that, but I'm just baffled by that, honestly. But you keep this going. Look at those nasty storms kind of around the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And this might not be exactly the way this unfolds. But you almost have like a line of storms. And look at this supercell right here. Closer to the Texarkana region here in southeast Oklahoma. This is a nasty looking cell. If this forms around 7 p.m. and then you look at these storms down into here. And yeah, I mean, they're very isolated, right? I mean, you got one here, nothing over here. One right here, nothing down here. Whoever gets hit by one, I'm telling you, have a way to, if you can, cover up your belongings because they're going to pack a punch. And then we kind of get to midnight. Could have some storms left over in northeast Texas. We'll see what happens with this. If you look at the latest HRRR model, let's see what it shows. It still shows those storms kind of developing over here. I mean, this is like the latest HRRR model. This shows these storms forming like around 4 to 5 p.m. So, and look, it shows that same cell. Like 5 runs later on the HRRR model. I'm telling you, they will extend the hail outlook into this region. I know I'm stuck on that, but if we're talking about the ingredients, we'll kind of look at everybody here. I know I typically look at pivotal weather when it comes to the ingredients, but I just didn't feel like, honestly, pulling up 1,000 tabs. And it's much easier to use Weather Bell sometimes. But here it is. These are not temperatures. These are dew points. Okay, dew points in the 60s. Climbing all the way. Like, for example, you got dew points in like the 40s and 50s in St. Louis right now. By the time you get to lunchtime, you'll notice there's a little bit more juice in the air in St. Louis, for example. And certainly in all of southern and southeastern Mizzou. So, sorry I keep saying Mizzou. It's a football thing for me. You guys in Missouri who are football fans, your team has beat my South Carolina Gamecocks about 50 years in a row now. So, but anyways, getting sidetracked a lot this morning, if you notice. But this afternoon, look how the state of Oklahoma, even Texas for sure, is cut off as far as like more dry air and very moist air. And dew points will rise into the low 70s. I mean, potentially all the way up into like the Boot Hill, Missouri. So you got this slither of moisture rising, and then look how the dry air swoops in, stabilizes the atmosphere. This front gets more horizontal right into here and kind of sags down. And it's just getting to that time of the year where you don't see as many cold fronts clear the entire Gulf coastline. And this thing kind of stalls out, and this is what's going to bring that multi-day risk of flash flooding and thunderstorm development into this region. So, another thing you look at here is those cape levels, and we can only really look at surface cape right here, but that's fine because same thing applies today. And there's a surface cape levels, reaching well over 3,000 joules per kilogram in Oklahoma. This will pose that very large hail threat. But look at this cape into Texas, eastern Oklahoma. The cape levels are rising very high too. That's why I'm baffled at why they only have a 5% risk of hail down into this area right into here. But a lot of energy, not strong flow aloft. I'm not even going to bother pulling it up, but there is pockets into here that's going to create that tornado threat. So we'll watch for that. But that's today's severe weather event breakdown. We'll mention severe weather at this tab too. Southeast today, waking up quiet conditions, but you'll see the thunderstorm development along the Delta region here in Mississippi. Could develop just inside the Arkansas state line, Mississippi-Arkansas line, and then kind of move into the northern half of Mississippi right here south of Memphis. These little storms could pack a punch too. So we'll watch for that. And then a look at those cells right in here. We've already mentioned that. And then we start to get to the evening hours. Could have some energy left over, but then this main batch of energy starts to dive down into the southeast from the northwest. Could get some storms overnight across the entire state of Kentucky. And then they make it all the way to the southern Apps, bringing some light rain up to West Virginia, and maybe some more so storm action into the North Carolina and Tennessee mountains, Cumberland Plateau, down to North Georgia, upstate South Carolina. Greeting you guys for your Friday morning. But a little bit closer look for you folks in Mississippi. And there's those storms that have an opportunity to fire up. Around 5, 6 p.m., we're definitely going to get some storms in this area here in Mississippi. So be aware of that. Could be some hail, could be some gusty winds, maybe a small tornado risk. They'll kind of dance around areas of northern Mississippi, creep into western and southwestern sections of Tennessee, maybe some shower activity in Alabama. But then we start to get into 9, 10 p.m. Are we going to get any storms in the Little Rock? It's quite possible. But it's also possible you get whiffed and don't get a drop of rain. See what happens. But, there it is around 1 a.m. Some storms kind of moving through and just south of Little Rock. Storms kind of moving to the Memphis area, affect Dyersburg, western Tennessee. It looks like a pretty nasty storm around like 2 a.m. in the morning, just outside of Dyersburg. Look at these storms creeping to the south of the Kentucky-Tennessee line. We got some heavy showers, even some storm activity getting into the Cumberland Plateau, northern Alabama as we're getting to the wee hours of the morning. Still got some storms hanging out down here as this front begins to, like I said, get that tilt going where it's like more horizontal than vertical. And it starts to kind of stall out. And, there's those storms like 6 o'clock in the morning from almost stretching from Nashville through eastern Tennessee. You can wake up to some storms tomorrow in eastern Tennessee for sure. Northern Georgia also very possible. So that's the storms risk for that area, the timeline. The northeast, waking up to some pesky showers out there. They'll kind of take their sweet time moving across Vermont, New Hampshire, southern New England, all of New England just about. Pockets of some wet snow is very possible in those higher elevated regions of especially New Hampshire. And this will continue to kind of cruise into Maine. Same thing with Maine. You see some areas of blue here, maybe some pockets of wet snow. Some showers will continue throughout the overnight hours. And, then you'll have another system that's kind of falling apart, bringing some showers up into Ontario, Quebec, and a line of thin showers kind of greeting you guys once again in western PA, West Virginia as you're waking up for your Friday morning. But I do think there'll just maybe be some sprinkles out there across into the northeast as you're waking up tomorrow morning. Not as widespread light rain activity that you're seeing this morning. South Central U.S., we've already discussed it, but I will just kind of take a broad look at this. There's those storms developing, kind of scattered to isolated. Most of Oklahoma won't see much. Kansas, I think it'll be much quieter once you get these morning storms out the way. A little bit of energy dancing around in the Rockies of Colorado. Well, we've kind of broken down this area already. Much more stable air will move in across this area until that front does stall out and it doesn't quite make it all the way to the Gulf coastline. This morning, waking up to widespread rain in Iowa. No tornadoes this morning. Much more stable conditions. This rain will overspread into like Chicago. Not very widespread, but some light rains possible up into Wisconsin. Could get some heavier rain that develops in like eastern to southeastern Iowa. We'll get some storm potential all the way up into central Illinois, but I think once you get into northern Illinois, especially the Great Lakes region, much more stable conditions, cooler temperatures. But you'll certainly just see widespread shower activity, some showers possible in the UP and Michigan getting into this evening. More of a widespread rain begins to take over just about the entire lower sections of Michigan here. And then we'll get into the late overnight hours, the wee hours of the morning. These showers will kind of head off into Canada, get on the east side of Lake Huron. And then here's those snow showers kind of wrapping in. And I think the snow showers could begin as early as really just after lunchtime today across North Dakota. The moisture will start to switch to a little snow overnight and northern Minnesota. And then we start to get into tomorrow morning. Could be greeted to some rain and snow showers as far south as northern Wisconsin, the UP and Michigan. More maybe widespread light, maybe burst of wet snow up here in northern Minnesota, South Dakota. Another day of snow shower. I'm at North Dakota. Another day of snow showers. Could have a convective element to it. A little burst of snow. This is getting into tomorrow evening. And yeah, we'll keep going and, kind of dies out overnight tomorrow night. But, we kind of look at the snow with this, between now and Saturday morning. A dusting of snow. Somebody could sneak in an inch of wet snow up here in northern Minnesota. It's very possible. So, for my folks here in the western U.S., some snow showers are possible. Kind of dancing around out here in western Nebraska, northeastern Colorado, areas of Wyoming. And we've already talked about the snow up here. Could get some snow shower activity also in eastern sections of Montana today. And then, of course, you get into the Rockies and Montana. We'll get a little bit of moisture getting squeezed out from this lower pressure overhead in the form of higher elevation snow, some lower elevation rain. But most of the western U.S. is quiet, is stable, not a whole lot going on at all. So, temperatures today. I was thinking yesterday, some of y'all are going to laugh at me like, come on, let's just have summer first. And I do. I want summer. But in my mind, mentally, I've already kind of gotten over the fail of a winter we had here in the Southeast. And in my mind, I'm already kind of counting down the days till like late August when you start to get really excited about fall football season and just what I think is the best 3 or 4 months of the year, which is like September, October, November, and December. Just love that time of the year. And in my head, I'm already kind of counting down to it. You guys know that's been here for a while. I'm a big fall fan. But, I'm kind of relating this to this map because we're going to hit probably our first 90-degree temperature today here in Columbia, South Carolina. Very warm day. You're going to notice an uptick in humidity also. Very hot south of this boundary in Texas. Someone's probably going to hit 100 degrees. Pocket of cooler air. Very chilly, raw day with that light rain we discussed to the northeast. But, man, once this cold front kind of moves in, it's a chilly day in the Midwest. Unless you're getting into like Illinois and Indiana and areas of Missouri. That portion of the Midwest, no. But once you get into Iowa, Wisconsin, northern Missouri, cold front's moving in right now. It's going to really cool you guys down. And even colder up here in the north central U.S., 30s and 40s for highs. And, I'm starting it off this morning in the western U.S. for a reason. Chilly conditions, okay? Check this out as we warm throughout the day today. I want you to watch this area right in here. Check out that movement, right? Like that cold front will move in and literally dramatically drop your temperatures. So you can actually see where that cold front boundary is at the base of this upper trough moving in. But it's not going to make it all the way down to everybody. But the people who are not being affected by this lower pressure, you're going to warm up pretty nicely. You get tucked into like the central and northern Rockies, it's pretty chilly. Pretty chilly day in Denver. But once you get south of it, you get into the southwest, kind of the southern half of the Four Corners region. And then like California, it's nice. It's pleasant. You're not being affected by this whatsoever. So enjoy your day. But to kind of mention the couple days coming up, this upper trough will continue to sag south with a cold front associated with it. This cold front will be a lifting mechanism for thunderstorms. So we're going to wake up to thunderstorms in the southern Alps region, maybe all the way down to Atlanta. And then we're going to have an opportunity for more thunderstorms to develop throughout the day tomorrow. So this is for tomorrow, just a marginal risk, level 1 out of 5. Maybe I can get off work at Friday tomorrow and maybe chase a thunderstorm. For you folks that don't know, I am a storm chaser. I'm not a full-time storm chaser, and I don't drive. I live in South Carolina. I'm not about to drive to like Iowa to chase storms. I'll drive to like Mississippi, maybe as far north as Virginia, but that's about it. But I've been able to save a lot of time this year. I usually use all my work vacation, about, I would say 70% of it on storm chasing. The other 30% of it just family time, vacation, things like that. And I'm blessed to get a lot of vacation time, but I haven't been able to really use hardly any of it this spring. We didn't really have that Dixie severe weather season that we typically do, which is a blessing for you folks down in like Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana. We've had some threats, but we haven't had, I think you guys can, voice to this. We really haven't had that year we typically do, especially in March. March is typically, at least over the last few years, has been, a really brutal month for severe weather. But it seems like just everything skipped the deep south and, went to the Ohio Valley. I mean, areas of the plains. Been a very weird severe weather season for sure. But, we do have that marginal risk tomorrow from areas of the Carolinas, Georgia, Alabama, and could get some hail, with cooler air moving in aloft. It could get some gusty winds with this. Tornado threat, it's going to be very low. Never call it non-existent. But you notice this cold front boundary will stall. So you got a huge broad area that run a risk of thunderstorms as this thing really stalls out. So no severe weather really expected. I wouldn't be surprised we get a pocket of like a marginal risk somewhere in the south central U.S. for Saturday. This is for Saturday, but just a huge broad area of a general risk of thunderstorms. Just kind of move past day 3. Day 4, Sunday. Day 5, next Monday. Tuesday, day 6. Wednesday, day 7. Day 8, next Thursday. All right. It says potential too low, potential too low, potential too low, potential too low. And then it's like predictability too low. And that's kind of like the next notch up. So what we're basically saying here is the atmosphere is going to be quite stable over the next week. So, we got to watch for the next storm system, but basically over the next, I would say at least 4 to 5 days outside of tomorrow and today, it's going to be pretty quiet. Things are going to settle down. Much more stable April pattern. So we'll see what's next. Okay. We're getting deeper into the warm months. That's for sure. And, if you guys have not, and of course, guys, I don't like to blow smoke up my rear end or anything like that. But if you guys are new and have not watched me during hurricane season, like I said many times, I know my setup is not flashy. I just film in my bedroom at my house. I don't have any cool edits on my videos or anything like that. But we really break it down in hurricane season. Very, very detailed. We'll talk about why hurricanes move this direction, why they're going to weaken. I don't do hurricane outlooks. I'm not, going to do a hurricane seasonal outlook. I just leave that to the real experts. Everything points to an active hurricane season. But, definitely stick with me to hurricane season because we break it down extensively. We really try to, I try to educate, the audience on why they get steered one way or the other. And we have a lot of fun doing it and trying to keep people prepared before it definitely moves in. So stay tuned for that. Guys, that's all I got. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all, and y'all have a wonderful day. Stay safe out there.